The other day, I was standing like this at the side of the road, trying to get a lift to the nearest big city where I live. After like only 30 seconds of me standing there, this huge car pulls over. It's like a Range Rover, expensive, cost like 300 grand. I think to myself, this guy must be pretty well off. And it turns out he was. He gave me some of his life story. And in this video, I would like to pull out 3 lessons that I learned from the 45 minutes I sat with him in the car. And I've written them here on the board, and I'm going to go through them so you can get these lessons for you as well. So when I get in the car, we start talking first a little bit about me, and then I ask him if he's self-employed. And yes, he has been self-employed his entire life. His entire working career has been him starting his own business. The first lesson has to be he started early. And that was one of the things that has caused his success that I noticed. So he started early with getting his hands dirty, because when he was studying for engineering, he took 1 semester off, and then with a buddy he decided to build a house. So they built a house. It was almost finished by this semester. They had to like spend the weekends finishing it up, but they had a house. My whole philosophy is you have to have a connection between your head, your hands, and your heart. And this guy for sure already was out using his hands, and obviously also his head and his theory, because you have to have a little bit of theory in order to build a house. Although he did actually say that it isn't at all difficult to build a home. You just have to pay attention to detail. The calculations you have to make aren't that difficult. Same day as he graduated from his engineering education, he started his business the very same day, because he knew he wanted to work for himself, and he knew he wanted to be in consulting, help people with engineering consulting, and he knew he wanted to work for himself. So that was basically the mindset he went into this new business endeavor with. It didn't sound like he had like a clear plan of what to do. He just knew he wanted to work for himself, knew he wanted to do consulting. Those were his directions, and then he just went and did that. And I think he got maybe a co-founder or something. He scaled this business over the course of, I think, a decade, and then sold the business. We talked about what made his business successful. I brought up the idea that a business is only as good as the collected abilities of its workers. And he underlined the importance of culture. So good culture, and I said, how do you build good culture in a business? And he told me that they had a saying that work should be fun. It should be fun to come to work. And fun is not like you should be laughing all the time. It's just you should enjoy it. It should be challenging, and it should be something that you look forward to. How do you create that environment? He told me that, for example, if it's a new engineer coming in, as like a junior engineer, I guess, they might want to have a multitude of different problems they have to solve, so they're not just sitting with the same thing all the time. So they want some variation in the tasks that they're working with. And maybe the senior engineers, they can just do one task because I guess they don't care or something. So he gave me this trick that he used for getting cheaper labor that is still qualified. So if you're hiring people with less experience, then it's going to be cheaper to buy that labor on the marketplace of labor. And what he did was he had these groups of a couple junior engineers and then a senior engineer. So they quickly learned the whole the game and all the small things you have to be aware of from the senior person. So it was like a symbiosis, continuous learning as the engineers got into this company. The game was really to get the top 5 people who graduated from the major schools that year. So how did you do that? Well, there were internships. They got jobs that they could do part-time after studying, and then they were offered to apply for a job at the end of that. It was all about getting the handful of the very best people who graduated, who not only had the best grades, but also had the best energy and the best social abilities. He mentioned that was also a very important part of finding someone to hire. The third thing is when he then sold the company. Since then he has invested in 4 different companies, but he also has his property and rental business. So in this business, he has like hundreds of millions of Danish crowns worth of property. He buys like a whole apartment like block, or not a block, but it's like, you know, one stair, and then he buys all the apartments around that. And then he renovates them all and then rents them out. The key here that we talked about was you don't want to pay tax before you invest. So that's very important, because here in Denmark, we pay 22% tax as a business, corporate tax. When a business sells a product, 22% goes to the government, and then the rest goes into the business, and then it's in the business. You can take it out through dividends and pay 47% in tax, or you can take it out for like pay for yourself, and then it's also like 40 something percent. So you end up paying over 50% tax with the corporate and the taking it out part. And just to be clear, it's very important that you don't pay the 50% above 50% in tax before you invest, because imagine you get like you have 100 million in your company, right? And you have already paid the 22%. Then you pull that money out and you pay, like, let's just round up to 50% because it's 40 something percent. So then you have the 100 million and you only get 50 out, and then you invest them. Then you'll be able to buy $50 million houses that you can rent out. If you didn't pay the tax, so if you didn't pull it out of the business, then you would be able to buy twice as many properties for 100 million and then rent them out, and then you'd get double the amount of rental income, which you then had to pay taxes on, but you would have twice the properties. This is how rich people manage not to pay taxes. Company here, and they have 100 million in this company, right? And they have gotten this from selling cars, let's just say. So they have sold some cars, they have went in here, 100 million in profit in money in the company. And then what they do is you create a holding company. So this is a holding company. And then in Denmark, what you can do is you can transfer the money here without, this is no tax, cost nothing to put it into the holding. And then you can transfer it to another company. And this is your company where you buy houses. So now you have 100 million over here. And now you can buy $100 million worth of property. And you can rent that out, you can pay tax on the income that you get from the rentals, and then you have basically twice the amount of cash flow coming in, which is extremely beneficial if you want to make money. So, and then if you want to take it a step further and never pay taxes, then what you can do is you don't pay tax on debt. Let me explain. So if you have 100 million in assets, in buildings over here in this company, then if you want money to spend on whatever for yourself, then what you have to do is just take a loan. And because you have this asset that is worth $100 million, then you can take a loan because you own the company, the holding company that owns this asset. You own the holding company, then you go to the bank and say, hi, I would like to lend $10 million to buy my yacht. Okay, fine, we'll give you the 10 million. Then this is you. You're happy, because you just got 10 million. Mind you, you've not paid tax yet. You just have a loan now. You will also be able to get a really good loan for low percentage of interest, because you have this huge asset here you can lend up against. So it might be like a whatever, let's just say 5% loan, and inflation eats up 2 to 3%. So that means you're actually just paying like 2%. At the end of this conversation with the $100 million man, I shook his hand and I got his number and his email, because I asked, can I just write you questions if I have any questions that you might be able to answer? I thought it was brilliant, amazing that I had met this guy who was somewhere that I would like to perhaps be in the future. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, like and subscribe. Ribbity-doo!